I can open this webinar for you. This is an energy and environment working group webinar. It's the second one this year. This time we focus on sustainable forest management with a special focus on social forests, model forests, and everything beyond that. Just to make sure that everybody understands the rules, the webinar is being recorded already. Please remain muted when not talking, and please post your questions in the chat whenever you have one. All the interventions are equally valid here. So once you put your questions in the chat, you can be sure that it's going to be answered. Yes, so this year we've already discussed that energy and environment working group with the leader of Fiona Zimmerman from HESO Energy Living Lab based in Switzerland is leading us, and we decided on the purpose that to initiate, develop, accelerate, support, communicate, synergize, and upscale Living Lab initiatives, basically for decarbonization, efficiency, and democratization of energy production, and as well as at preventing pollution in air, soil, and water by fostering the co-design of new products and services. This year, we also want to focus a little bit more than last year on environment, not only on energy, which is why the key objectives is to explore the value of living labs for the energy, climate change, and pollution, highlight and enhance and disseminate the opportunities for collaboration, co-creation, and working, and ensure the effective, high-quality cross-fertilization of methodologies and approaches. We've got 22 members at our working group, and 18 are ENoLL members. The action plan for this year is to promote collaboration and knowledge exchange. We do it with the webinars. It's the second webinar. We also want to promote joint activities and engaged in key events. The key event is, for example, Open Living Lab Days, our central event of the year. We want to support members on the key topics such as energy and environment this year with the focus on forest and water, sharing relevant Living Lab results that we'll try to do today. We also encourage cross-working group and external partnerships to make sure that we explore the funding opportunities and we contribute to international visibility of our publications and high-level events. So today's program is, I've just introduced myself into the topic, and then we'll listen to Patricia Borg, I think, Borg, sustainability area researcher, and Montes Brugulat, technician in the pedagogical area in Andorra Research and Innovation Center. This is Andorra Living Lab. So the Martyroscope Open Air Forestry Laboratory will listen to their project. Then we'll listen to myself. I'm an innovation project manager at Poznań Supercomputing and Networking Center. Future Labs is the living lab of that research institute. And I'll talk on how to start collaboration with forests. Then we'll ask our external expert, Jarosław Bator from Forestry Inspectorate, State Forest in Poland. He'll talk on model forest methodology in practice. And we also have one person discussing her project. So she'll showcase of Eco to Adapt project, Alexia Stokes, a project coordinator. Then we'll probably have little time also for group discussion and to wrap up what we have discussed today. So now I'll ask Patricia and Montes from Andorra Living Lab to present their project.
Thank you, Evelina. I don't know if everybody can see my screen. Yeah. So as Evelina says, we will present the Martelloscope project, which is an open-air forestry laboratory. First of all, we will maybe introduce ourselves. So my name is Patricia Borges. I'm a building engineer with a PhD in sustainability, and I'm currently a researcher at the sustainability area in Andorra Research and Innovation, which is the leader research group in Andorra, which was created by the government in 2021 from the merging of 3 pre-existing entities. And this presentation will also be presented by Montse Brugulat, which is a biologist, technician of the pedagogical area in Andorra Research and Innovation, and she's in charge of the transfer of knowledge in schools and citizenship, as well as the design of pedagogical resources in our research group. And we are both part of the Andorra Living Lab. So the Andorra Living Lab, we joined the ENoLL network in 2022. And among our particularities, there is the fact that we are the first living lab at the country scale, and that we are not focused on a specific area of knowledge, but we promote innovation projects aligned with the strategic sectors of the country, such as sports, health, mountain, sustainability, energy, and education, among other sectors. Our favorable legislation for innovation and proximity of the government and other local institutions, as well our wide network of national and international partners, make our country a unique ecosystem for design, create, and test innovative projects. Till today, we have tested 10 pilot projects and have completed 8 innovation challenges in different sectors. And of course, as everybody knows, we are hosting in September the ENoLL annual event, the Open Living Labs, where we expect to see you all of you. For those who doesn't know Andorra, which it's not very strange, we are a mountain country located in the middle of the Pyrenees between France and Spain. Our total country area is 467 square kilometers, so very tiny country. And currently, we have a population of almost 82,000 inhabitants, which makes us one of the Pyrenees territories with the highest density of population. As data to highlight from our countries that we have a lot of tourism. We receive more than 8 million tourists per year, which is a lot. It is one of our main activities, the tourism activities, linked to the sports activities and mountain tourism also. And of course, as a mountain country, forest plays an important role in our country, covering more than the 40% of our territory. Indeed, since 1948, the forest area has increased by 38%, and the density of trees is increasingly higher, while the amount of rainwater has not increased. This inevitably leads to an increase in the share of trees and the entire ecosystem. That's why we had the need of specific studies aimed to understand and measure the impact of types of management techniques, and martelloscopes is one of the techniques that the tools that are more appropriate in that sense. What are martelloscopes? Martelloscopes came from the French word methodologies, which means tree selection, and the Greek word scopein. I don't say if it pronounces like that, which means to look. And it consists of 1 hectare of forest where trees are measured, identified, and mapped, and all this information is integrated in a tool, in a virtual tool, in order to test different techniques of management in forest management. Those are open air laboratories where various forestry practices are carried out without harming the trees, and they serve to help us to understand the forest dynamics, their history, and the ecosystem functions they support to provide also support. Some of their applications are to provide technical training in forestry issues, make policy decisions with technical support, visualize complex decision-making processes in conflict interests for the provision of ecosystem services. Nowadays, a lot of people think that we need to plant more trees, but indeed we need to manage the forest. We have a lot of forest in Andorra, so we need to manage in order that these forests adequately helps our ecosystems. And also, one of their applications is to bring citizens closer to the sustainable forest management issues. We are not the only martelloscope existing. In 2024, we integrated the European Forest Institute network, which counts with more than 240 martelloscopes throughout Europe. And I think that there are some of them also in the United States, but I'm not sure. This leads to share information about the results of the different martelloscopes and also implement different management techniques that succeed in other territories, in our territory, to see if we have the same results and which one fits better in each territory. Now, our ongoing tasks. It has been implemented very recently, so we don't have results, but we are trying to implement different tasks in order to start working with our martelloscope. One of them is the installation of monitoring sensors in order to have more information related to the carbon fixation, the light transmission through tree canopies, and also the forest soil humidity, to see if the different management techniques can improve these indicators or not, and test these techniques in this area. We have also created an immersive space that I will try to show it to you. If I can, yeah. It's a website where you can go and navigate, and you can have some information related to our martelloscope. I'm sorry, but it's in Catalan, and I don't think it will be implemented in English because it's used in our country. And there you can navigate, and it's the real martelloscope, is if you were there, but in a virtual manner. And you have different information, such as technical, related to what is a forest, what ecosystem functions has the forest. Also, they have you can have information related to the different fauna and flora you can find there, and well, it's not just an educational resource that can be used in schools, but also it can be used to bring the forest closer to people that cannot be there due to mobility problems, for example. So it's an inclusive tool. So if we go back to our presentation, sorry. Yes. And another task that is, another activity that it will be implemented very soon, it's the educational activities for schools. We found that martelloscope is a very good tool to bring closer and to be used for educational activities. And this part, I will leave the floor to Montse Brugulat, that will explain it to you in very detail.
Thank you, Patricia. Well, following the presentation of my colleague Patricia, you can listen me correctly? Yeah, okay. I will now introduce a pedagogical proposal designed for the Marteloscope in Andorra, located in La Massana. And the Marteloscope is a fantastic tool to help students learn about Andorran forest, their ecological importance, and the services they provide, like soil protection, water regulation, recreation, and climate change mitigation. Our aim is to transform the forest into a living classroom where students can not only gain knowledge, but also develop personal and social skills through direct experience in nature. The next, please, Patricia. The program has three main goals. First is to promote contact between schools and nature, especially important in today's increasingly urban lifestyle. Second, to use the Marteloscope as an educational resource, turning a scientific tool into a platform for learning. And third, to connect schools with scientific research, giving students a chance to engage with real data and real questions. This approach brings added value to school curricula by introducing real-world environmental challenges. Next, please. Thank you. This slide presents the pedagogical framework of the program. We explore a wide range of forest-related topics, from biodiversity and microhabitats to climate change, water resources, and natural hazards like wildfires or storms. Our approach is based on competence-based learning, like mathematical, scientific, and technological competencies, also digital competencies, development of potentialities and talent, and personal autonomy and enterprising capacities, all of them using playful and dynamic methods. The activities are designed for students aged 10 to 12 in primary and students 14 to 16 in secondary. And the idea is to combine hands-on activities, scientific thinking, and teamwork, all within the forest environment. To go more specifically into the activities, the educational proposal includes 3 structured activities. The first is discovering the Marteloscope and the forest. The second is exploring 3 microhabitats and biodiversity. And the activity 3 is understanding sustainable forest management. And each activity includes observation, analysis, and reflection to ensure that the students don't just receive information, but actively construct their own learning process. This first activity is structured as a forest escape game with 7 thematic stations. Students explore questions such as, how has this landscape changed? What is the geology of the area? What species live here? What kind of data is collected in Marteloscope? And this playful format introduced cave forest concept like ecosystem services and biodiversity. In an interesting and impressive way, all the activities will be adapted to the different ages of the students. Going to activity 2, the second activity focuses on the 3 microhabitats, which are small but critical environments that support biodiversity. And the students begin with a discussion on forest fauna, then identify microhabitats on real trees using cards and descriptive tools. And they also calculate a habitat value based on what they observe, allowing them to understand how forest structure supports different life forms. And this activity proposed them to think about the complexity of ecosystems and the value of biodiversity. The third activity, the next one, is a role-playing game that uses the Martelloscope software, and students simulate forest management decisions under 3 scenarios: maximizing economic value of the forest, because they cannot decide to cut down the whole forest, but only a part that allows to maintain its structure and resilience. The second is maximizing habitat value through sustainable practices. And the third is finding a balance between economic profit and biodiversity maintenance. And this exercise promotes discussion on forest resilience, good quality, and the trade-off between environmental and economic goals. And it helps the students understand the real-life challenges faced by forest managers. Our long-term plan is to offer this program to both teachers and students through training sessions and school visits. We focus on 3 main thematic areas: forest ecosystems and their services, 3 microhabitats, and forest management and silviculture. And the idea is to create a sustainable, replicable model for environmental education using the Martelloscope as a tool. And we believe this proposal is a good opportunity to integrate science, education, and sustainability in a practical and captivating way. And we are confident that forest-based learning can motivate students and promote meaningful understanding of complex ecological and management concepts. We are currently launching this pedagogical proposal as a pilot program during May and June of this school year, and aim at both teachers and students from primary and secondary education. And this trial this trial phase will help us evaluate the effectiveness of the activities and their educational value, and whether the experience truly helps promote a deeper, more significant connection to forest-related knowledge. And finally, we are at your disposal if you would like to learn more about the program or any specific aspects in greater detail. Thank you very much for your attention.
Just to finish the presentation, for the ones that will attend the Open Living Labs and that are interested in the project, it will be planned a site visit to the Martelloscope during the Living Lab Day. So if you wanted to visit and have more information about what is going on, we will be pleased to be with you there. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much, Patricia and Mons. So we're going to have a couple of minutes for questions. We do already have some questions in the chat. And one of them is about, forest fires. And you did mention something about forest fires. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about that in Andorra. And then you have integrated very well technology and VR, virtual reality, and gamification into your whole project, which is fantastic, especially working with children. So are these tools really only used to engage users, or are they really useful in terms of management? Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that.
Concerning fires, we haven't had fires till now, but our territory is a very susceptible area. So prevention is one of the most important things nowadays in fires. We have another projects that European projects. We work in European projects with other Pyrenees partners. So we work at the Pyrenees scale because Each mountain is very different, each territory. So we are working with them in projects related to sensor fires. And well, as I said, we do not have till today fires, but the conditions of our territory, the each year more high temperatures, make our territory very susceptible to have strong fires. And then we are working on prevention. This is where our work is focused. And then the other question, Fiona, I don't think I don't remember. It's related to.
It's on virtual reality. I mean, obviously you're using those tools in education and engaging users, but how are they really effective in terms of like forest management?
Yes, they are used in order to do different techniques. We can apply it. We have a tool. It's a software that can be downloaded in a mobile device or a tablet, and then you can integrate different management techniques that are proposed in that software based on other martelloscopes experience, and see how results may change in the parcel that is under study. And then in the nearest area of the martelloscope parcel, we can implement these techniques and check if the virtual tool really had the same results as the real life, and try to make little experiments to see which technique fits better in each territory.
Okay, so it is integrated into the overall planning and management of the.
Yes.
Great. Okay.
The educational part is a very important one, but the research one and the forest management one is a very important part also.
Okay. Great. Thank you. So we have a question from Jaroslav.
Yes. My question is, what is the ownership structure concerning forests in Andorra? Is it the public forest dominates or private one?
In Andorra, it's very complex because the forest is public, but it not belongs to the government. We are divided in 7 territories. Even if we see that we are a very small country, we are divided in 7 territories, and that are called parroquias. Well, in I don't know how to call it in English. Mm-hmm. I would think communities, 7 communities, and each community is the owner of the forest and manage that forest. So to have national actions is very difficult because every community has his budget and has their priorities. So it's very difficult to manage the forest. Now we are working with just one community. And if this pilot works well, we wanted to expand it to the others and try to do a national action in terms of forest management.
Okay, and the last question, you said about the activities dedicated to students or children or teachers. You mean you have got a team of experts who is going to carry out this, let's say, training classes or whatever we call it, or who will be teaching, the local communities?
Yes, Montse Brugulat, which was part of the presentation, is the person in charge of the pedagogical area in our research group, and with the help of external experts, she leads this part of teaching. Indeed, she is the one that prepares resources for schools, and if a school has a particular need to expand the knowledge of one subject, she's the one that will present that
okay,
need
the topic. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. That actually leads on to a question I wanted to ask. Evelina has her hand up as well, but I'm going to squeeze in before you, Evelina. But it was actually a question about that, about the education and months. Maybe you can answer it. But how do you measure the impact of the education programs? I mean, you probably have school tours coming there on a regular basis. Do you do follow up with them afterwards, or like how do you really measure the impact? It's probably very challenging, I imagine.
Well, this is a little complicated to see the impact in long term, but for the instance, it's a complement in the curricula of the schools. Is a resource to complement this formation in this knowledge from the forest knowledge, no? All the natural and well, for the instance, we don't have think how we can calculate the impact, but this year we will see talking about teachers and schools, how we can measure that.
Yeah, how you can get feedback over time, or yeah. Okay. Very good. Okay, we might exchange on that a little bit more later with some ideas. Evelina, you have a question, and then you're the next speaker as well.
Yes, thank you, Fiona. Yeah, I wanted to come back to this topic on fires, actually to natural disasters, because I believe that this Martyloscope project is to, as you said, to prevent. So what exactly do you do with this project to actually prevent natural disasters? Because in Poland, we experience it actually every year right now, floods, the fires, and so on. The effects of climate change is visible every year, and it's getting worse. So I was thinking, like, what exactly is there in your project you do that you're trying to prevent such disasters that we are already experiencing in Poland?
The aim of the project is not really to prevent, it's more to gather data in order to help other projects that are focused on prevention. For example, the carbon fixation, the lights that can be transmitted through the canopies, and how the different techniques of management that we implement can change this data, and then this data is used in other projects that are really focused on prevention of natural disasters. But it's more in order to gather data and test management forest techniques. And just to complement the question regarding education that you say to Montse, it's very difficult to follow the impact, since another characteristic aspect of Andorra is that we have 3 school systems: the French, the Spanish, and the Catalan. And each system is totally different and has school curricular totally different. So it's very difficult to know how the resources that we teach at the schools, how we have a feedback of that. So it's a totally very particular country.
Big challenge. There seems to be a lot of alliances and similarities with Switzerland, but we can chat about that. I'm going to hand over to Evelina, and we can come back to the fire question as well, I think, at some point. Evelina, you go ahead with your presentation, please.
Okay, I believe you can see my screen. Actually, my presentation is shorter, so that's why I wasn't afraid of losing time over the conversation, which was engaging, because my presentation is kind of supportive to what is coming up next with Jarosław Bator, who is representing the state forest in Poland. So I wanted to start to talk on how to start collaboration with forests, because I believe this partnership that we have with state forests at the moment, our living lab, is valuable. So I wanted to just showcase how did that happen, that Poznań Supercomputing and Networking Center started collaboration with Forestry Inspectorate. So as I presented myself, I think already I'm an innovation project manager for 3 years now in this research institute. especially in the Living Lab, to actually explain what's behind this name. So we are a Research and Development Institute affiliated in the Institute of Bioorganic Chemistry, a part of Polish Academy of Sciences. So this is this building. There are basically, as you can see in the middle, supercomputers, including quantum computers. So we have actually two quantum computers at the moment, and one more is coming. We are also building an AI factory with the European Commission funds to make it actually a state-of-the-art AI factory. And to go into a little bit into numbers, I need to say that we are like 450 employees at the moment. We have 16 laboratories. We've been operating for 32 years now, and we have, I think, more than 16 fields of activity. Currently about 67 projects, and projects in Horizon Europe and Digital Program. We have 131, so you can see we're really like engaged and vibrant when it comes to project, and which is why sometimes when we want to apply for projects, I really need to have a look around, because I don't know many of the projects that are ongoing or those that were achieved. So, for example, when we are now preparing ourselves to this forest project, I'm finding out that we've been involved in many projects that could be supportive of forestry and climate protection. So when it comes to Living Lab, because what I've explained now is the Research Institute. Within the Research Institute, we have the Living Lab that's been operating, I think, for 16 years now as a part of, as a member of European Network of Living Labs. We've been an effective member for 16 years, definitely. And this is called PSNC Future Labs. So we are actually a small team, because we are about 10 people there, and as you could see, employees in this Research and Development Center, there is 450 already. So in our small lab, we are trying to focus basically on health, on climate change, on industry 4.0 a little bit, and we are looking at incubation of startups and businesses. And how we are doing it? We are starting with people. People are the most important. We can talk about quadruple helix involving different sectors, as you know, science, public administration, citizens, NGOs, and business. But the most important are the people. So we started collaboration, very effective one, with Forest, actually starting small, very locally, in front of our Living Lab, because our research institutes have different buildings around the city of Poznań. So there is a zoo, an old zoo in front. So we invited our partners to actually share their experience in when it comes to environment protection, but not only, also when it comes to medicine and so on. There we invited our co-workers, because back in time last year we had for I think also like about 18 years co-working in our living lab. So about 100 co-workers been using our space, and we had different people from various areas and also from forestry. So this co-worker, actually invited Jarosław Bator, who will present the forestry inspectorate after me, and he presented actually what model forests are, and it was the first time I actually heard about this concept, and it was inspiring, I must say, because it was very much along what we understand as living labs. Actually, they operate the same way as we do, so I found it like really interesting. We invited also a professor on climate change. We invited different partners that we've been involved in different projects. So networking was the next, was the first step. And thanks to this networking, we found the right people. So we can actually come up with challenges. And we named the challenges. And we are doing it with hackathons. About hackathons, I'll tell later. And thanks to all that, we can actually somehow cement the cooperation with our partners. So whenever there is something related to forestry, I actually can ask Mr. Jarosław, and I'm pretty sure he'll be happy to answer all my questions there. So I think it's really, really valuable. And this is our motto, actually: be the change you wish to see in the world as of our living lab. So now, after this networking sessions, we are having a so-called Future Labs forum, or as I said in the previously, there was this Sąsiedzkie Inspiracje. Sąsiedzkie Inspiracje is actually, if you translate it into English, it's like neighborhoods inspirations. Okay, so people who are in the local area can just share what are the challenges, what they know, what they think it's interesting, and where they would see the collaboration with also other actors. And once we have all this network somehow stabilized and people engaged, and thanks to this networking, you can actually find this right people who would be interested in cooperation, and it would be fruitful. We also invite them into our hackathons, since we're technology, state-of-the-art technology-focused institute. We obviously organize hackathons. We organize at least 2 a year. One is on quantum technology. That is a quantum hackathon. We call it Cool Future. And another one is Planeton. So actually a hackathon on climate. So anyone actually is invited to this hackathon that is to take action against climate change. So participants are invited for 24 hours, 2 hours to our place. And they are confronted with a number of challenges related to climate change. And after that, there is a session, final session, where they can present their solutions to the challenges, and they are awarded prizes. So there are obviously the judging criteria, and there is a prize pool. We have different categories. We have tech categories, and we have also concept categories. So if they are participants who are not, let's say, into technology that much, so they cannot program, code an algorithm or so, they can come up with a concept, and often also concept without any technology or algorithm behind can be also awarded, because the idea is most important actually in Planeton. So to come up, wrap up everything about this hackathons. So we invited the person that we engaged with in this neighborhood's inspirations, and that was Jarosław Bator, as a judge. We also invited president of the regional, how to call it, regional funding for environment protection and water protection to actually judge the solutions. And as a result, we got this winners, as you can see in the pictures. People who young people, because they're normally students coming to these hackathons, who came up with a very interesting and of high quality solutions, who can then be developed afterwards. We started at the beginning, and we are often just stayed in this phase of having just the solutions at the very proof of concept stage. But now we've been looking for some projects that then help us actually evolve that project into implementation and into testing part, because we didn't want this very, let's say, inspired and engaged people to be stopped at this very moment. But we needed funding because we are a public institution, so we had to look for that. And last year we received this funding, so probably some of the solutions will be implemented in near future. So what's next? After having all this collaboration and networking settled, we're looking at a full-scale project on forestry. I think that would be all from me now. I'm happy to answer questions if there are any.
Thank you, Evelina. That's great. It's a really nice introduction to see what your lab is doing at PSNC, and really nice to make the connection with Jaroslav and how you met him. And I'm really interested also in your methodology. I think the hackathons and the challenge is really important. So good luck with it coming into a full project. If it's okay with you, we'll go straight on to Jaroslav, and then we'll do the questions at the end for the whole session. Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah,
Great.
of course.
So we'll give the floor to you, Jaroslav, if you want to, or would you like to introduce him? Would you like to say something specific?
Yes. Wait. I will.
I think he'll present himself better than I can.
Yes,
I can do that. I think I already said enough in my little presentation, and he can be more specific about himself.
Wait.
So the floor is yours, Jaroslav.
Okay, can you see my presentation now, or not yet?
Yeah, but you've got two screens. It seems you've opened.
Wait, but that's strange. It shouldn't be. Wait.
Do you have two screens
yes,
there in front of you?
Yeah. It's still the same?
It hasn't shared yet. Just try it again.
Wait. We will do another way. Wait. Oh. And now?
Yes, that's perfect.
It's perfect. Yes.
That's perfect. Oof, oh my God. This is always the biggest challenge. So it's really nice to be here and have the opportunity to present some information about forests, about forestry, and about the concept of model forest. Yes, not to be anonymous, I will say I am a forester. I've been working here in Oborniki for 20 years, and I am the deputy head of that forest district. And of course, the picture of other green people working in our company, there is more than 50 person, and I am a part of that team, I will say. So this is the location, Poland, Central Europe, and Oborniki Forest District is located, let's say, western part of Poland. We are a part of the bigger unit called Regional Directorate of State Forestry in Poznań, and we are also a part, one of the biggest forest complex, I mean Noteć Forest, in Polish Puszcza Notecka. So here we are, and this is the dark green. It's Oborniki Forest District we are going to talk about today. So I'm going to speak about the model forest concept, and what is really important. It's the beginning. 2012. It is the beginning of the story. Before mentioned, the Regional Directorate of State Forests in Poznań carried out a project, Baltic Landscape. You see on the map different partners located around the Baltic Sea, and they were involved into the project. 4 work packages, and Oborniki were involved in work package 4. And at that, the main area of interest was Nature 2000 sites. And so that was the beginning, but the Regional Directorate in Poznań has also got different projects earlier, but all of them, it was the possibility to create some kind of international cooperation on one hand, and on the other hand, it was the first step to meet the model forest concept. But that project, 2012, 2014, its aim was to establish a model forest in Poland. As you can see on that map, we've got 2 sites. Warta, this is Oborniki because it was other working name, let's say, and also another region, Mazury, but finally only in that place we established Oborniki model forest. That one never existed. Okay, and you can see some historical pictures. I mean, 2012. This is the year we finally reached the goal. I mean, 17 partners signed a declaration of partnership under the umbrella of International Model Forest Network, because I will talk about it later, but model forest concept is located on international level with the secretary in Ottawa in Canada. And when we during that process of establishment of the model forest, we had also the evaluation done by Brian Bonnell. He represented International Model Forest Network Secretariat from Canada. He came to Poland, and we had a lot of meetings and discussion with all our partners, what I will mention further, but it was the essence to become a model forest as a part of international network. And after 10 years later, you can see the picture with the same team, still the same team within that concept, within that project, like model forest. And moreover, you can also see the picture confirming that in 2025, we have added one more partner, one more association to our group, and this is the moment of signing an annex to this declaration of partnership. So we are still living, let's say, and we are still working together. So what's also essential, because a lot of people sitting at that table is also here. Yeah, so it's really important, I think, when we speak about the continuity of the project. When we speak about model forest, we always have to remember about 6 pillars. This is the landscape, this is a partnership, how we interpret it and how we understand it, governance, some kind of structure, program of activities. This is also very essential, and we call it in practice a strategic plan. Sharing knowledge, sharing experience, and the commitment to sustainability. These 6 of them is needed if we want to speak about model forest. When we speak about landscape, you know the location, but we generally were looking for the area, some kind of area to test that concept, and that's clear that we need the area with different activities, because if we've got only forest and no interest around, no stakeholders, then that concept is dead, I would say. Yeah. So we felt intuitively at that time that area with the Nature 2000 Wełna Valley is a very good option. Why? Because there were many different interests that exists, that coexists. We had different stakeholders around there, because we had foresters, people who were interested in tourism, farmers, those who were involved in reaching energy from small hydropower station, and also scientists and people who are interested in biodiversity, like fishes, for example, or specific plants, because this Wełna River has got features like a mountain river. So as you see, many different interests of environmentalists, farmers, foresters, fishermen, etc., etc., and that area was chosen to be the best testing ground. Okay, when we speak about partnership, so we were supported by our friends from other model forests, and it was some kind of process. 2012, 2014, it was the time we gathered stakeholders, and we had to let's say push that train into some kind of process. I mean, the definition of problems and challenges, and we gathered institutions like you can see here. Sorry, it's in Polish, but anyway, this is the science. For example, 2 universities from Poznań. This is the authorities responsible for nature conservation and for water management. We've got local authorities of different level, and one museum, local museum, and some associations that are living here, that are working here, that are using forest as a place to rest, that are using water as a place for recreation. Yes, so 17 partners from different level, from different institution, and what we understand this partnership is we need a common ideas, shared ideas, common vision. Yeah. Confidence and frank communication. Those three wheels are essential if we want to speak about partnership. And that picture shows clearly what's going on within model forest, because that was our beginning also. When we gathered in 2012, we had a group of individualities, and after that we formed groups, teams, and our aim was to create some kind of dynamic partnership when we understand each other, when we know each other. And I would say the highest level is when we understand each other without words. Yeah, this is a real cooperation and everything in order to improve the quality of decisions that are taken and are essential for the environment. Yeah. So this is the partnership in this model forest concept. And of course, I just, because it's something what's written in the literature, different levels of stakeholder involvement. So we know that it's something like passive attitude, monitoring, informing, consulting, involvement into actions, and here cooperation and partnership. This is the essence. Empowerment is not important, it's not the level we want to reach when we speak about model forest, but this cooperation and partnership, this is the essence. Yeah. And let's move to program of activities, to this pillar. This these are some pictures from meetings. We wanted to build a common vision, a common program to implement in our region, and that was some workshops. And during these workshops, we defined different problems. Here is the description of these problems. And this is the place, the moment they appeared during the meeting, and we categorized them into different categories, like, for example, forest management, agriculture, nature conservation, water protection, spatial planning, or tourism and leisure activities, and many different. I'm just showing it for just like for example, and also, as you see, the description, like, for example, lack of buffer zone or fragmentation of management and competence, chaotic tourist development in the river valleys, etc., etc. And that way we create a strategic plan, and it looks like the table: problems and challenges, tasks, activities, who is responsible, and how to achieve, how to solve what's described in this strategic plan. And of course, there's not enough time to enter into details, so we generally focus on 3 areas. The first one is environment, the problems and challenges within environment. And these are examples of actions that has been undertaken, like, for example, restoring the buffer zone along the river. We planted many trees in the area without, or for example, activities that are linked to water retention. We implemented the project to stop the outflow of water in the agricultural and forest areas. And of course, here within that topic, there is a huge task that couldn't be implemented because of different reasons, not at that moment to discuss, but this is the plan for the future, and we still believe that we can implement the project, generally speaking, about renaturalization of Wełna and Flinta River. There is a huge task. We need the money. We need to pass some obstacles, but I hope we will manage together with water management authorities to reach that. Other huge bag was the education and increase the awareness of the environmental and climate change problems. So we prepared with our partners a lot of huge campaigns, educational campaigns, using different tools, like, for example, media, TV, social media, press, local press, publication, direct meetings with local people, other publication. So meetings on the local level and also on international one, because we always take the advantage, and when we have the option to meet outside and share our experience within model forest, we always trying to do our best within that area. And the third area was tourism. It was really important. We managed to map out some new trails, like, for example, horse trails, dog trails, or we prepared geocaching trails because and everything was some kind of feedback for problems, challenges, and social expectation on a local level. So this is the program of activities that was implemented, and now we are at the moment. Last year we did some kind of summary, and we updated the strategic plan till 2030. Yes, and there is a description of task that needs to be continued, and what else needs to be improved. And of course, sharing knowledge and experience, so different meetings with foresters or with other local communities in different regions in Poland, or in also outside. These are historical pictures that was undertaken during the Baltic Landscape Project, but we of course take the advantage and take the opportunity to share knowledge and experience as often as possible. This is the other example. Some conferences, meetings during last 2 years, or for example, we had a lecture. I had a lecture for students in Thailand. Also, they wanted to get to know something about Polish forestry, and they also have got a model forest. So this is very good option and opportunities for us and for them. And at the end, I want to show you the context, the international context of this model forest. You can see Oborniki is here. So nowadays, let's say the final statistics is 60 model forest initiatives, local initiatives in 37 countries. Yeah, so this is the map of the International Model Forest Network. The whole world is divided into a specific region, and here we are in the Northern Europe and Russia area, but since the 1st May of this year, the International Model Forest Network Secretary has changed the name of that region into European Boreal and Temperate Model Forest Network. It's obvious what is the reason they didn't want to have the name Russia in the name of region. So that is why how it looks like. And to this European Boreal and Temperate Model Forest, we've got now 5 model forests in Bergslagen, Helda River and Wilhelmina 3 in Sweden, 1 Czech Republic, and 1 Oborniki model forest in Poland. And you can see the date of establishment of those model forests. And I have done recently some kind of analysis of areas of interest. So you can see that, like for example, water management restoration of buffer zones. So in different regions, in different areas, the same interest. We can see this, like spatial planning, participatory planning, integrated decision support system, nature tourism. So we could education. We see that we've got similar problems and challenges. So we implement similar task, and we've got similar areas of interest. And so the story I am describing has got the beginning 2012, 2014. In 2015, we become a member of International Model Forest Network. In 2022, the whole state forest in Poland started the discussion about social forest. More precisely, I would say it's just like forest with increased social values, forest with increased social values or functions, and it's very common. It's very similar to the model forest concept, but I don't want to discuss why we do not develop the model forest concept as a name. This is a longer story, not for that moment, but generally the suggestion for the whole country, for the whole state forest in Poland is just like let's do the same process as we did. I mean, gather stakeholders, arrange meetings, define problems, and try to find a solution, like a scheme, like a simple scheme. I'm happy we as Oborniki Model Forest and our stakeholders, we had this initiative much earlier, and I think it's much more easier. It's easier to discuss nowadays with local people, especially when we've got a huge discussion concerning the forest management and the clear cuts and the harvesting wood. So this is, I think we are in a very good position. That's all. Thank you very much for your attention. If there are any questions, I'm here present, and that was a pleasure to have this speech for you.
Great. Thank you so much for the presentation. It was very clearly described what's a model forest. And I really liked your stakeholder engagement, how you brought everybody from being individualistic thinking to, you know, collective knowledge. I think that's really valuable learning in terms of, you know, how to bring all these stakeholders together. A big challenge, I'm sure. So yeah, I've got just two thoughts there. And I was wondering, in terms of the stakeholder engagement, how you deal with the private sector. So you described very well tourism, for example, and but how do you actually? I'm sure the private sector have interests in the forests as well. So how do you manage those? Because that can be a big challenge in lots of different sectors. And then my second question is really about innovation. How do you stimulate innovation within this project? Or is that maybe that's not one of the objectives? Maybe that's the reason why you need to work with PSNC to bring in some innovative approaches or methodologies.
Okay, so concerning the first question, you know, it was not a direct idea at the beginning, because, you know, it was some kind of process we tested. So something was not possible to predict, let's say. But generally, the situation we've got now is that more all of the stakeholders are rather let's call it like an authority, yes, associations, because this is a group of people who represent some kind of interest, or the authorities who are responsible for spatial planning and for environmental aspects. Yes, so there when we were looking for stakeholders, we didn't invite any of private, because you know, we worked, let's say, a little bit intuitively, yeah. And even after 10 years, when we still are discussing and we are present on this local level in people's mind, there is no interest, let's say, of private sector to join us. Yeah, because let's for example, when we speak about the companies who are interested in wood, they receive wood within a different process. So they buy wood, and there is no problem. There are no conflicts with that. You know, wood is delivered on the market by state forests, and society understand the needs that we have to harvest. Of course, they sometimes complain that there is too much, and they wish to the situation to be in a different way. But we are trying to explain what a sustainable forest management is, etc., etc. But generally, I do not see the interests of the private sector with this concept, or maybe I will say also in another way, because even if not in a formal way, but the group that is very strong and very important within that process is our farmers. Because because a huge discussion was carried out on that. You know, it's very agricultural area, and they want to let the water flow out early spring, just to start, you know, doing their jobs. And from our perspective and from the forest perspective, it would be perfect to stop the outflow even completely, because just to, at the moment, we've got a climate change and such a drought and such a problems with water. Yes, so they are a very important group to discuss, to explain them how it is so important to block the outflow. And mostly in the forest, because firstly in the catchment base we've got agricultural land, and after that water flows to the forest. Yeah, so they are present through the local authorities. Because, you know, when we've got the head of the municipality, he knows the interest of farmers, he knows the problem of farmers. So we as a representatives of model forests, we are invited, for example, for meetings on a municipality level to discuss that. Yeah, so maybe
this connection is important.
Yes, there is a connection, but even if they are not directly involved, like they are not the one who signed the declaration of partnership. Yeah, so this is our concept. And when we speak about innovation, from local perspective, we are very deeply involved into this education, and like, for example, we use virtual reality in the education process. Yeah, so we've got special application, like for example with wetlands, and we are showing different wetlands in Poland, those natural one or areas with water retention when water is bringing back by foresters, let's say, within different projects. Yeah, so this is the example, and I think a few years ago it was a huge innovation. Nowadays maybe it's a little less innovative because we know it's becoming more and more popular. But so this is what we can do on a local level. Generally, some actions are taken on the national level, for example. We cannot say it's ours, because it's implemented by in general, and
you implement it and test it.
Yes. So it doesn't depend on us. They are telling us, because the structure of state forests is not like there is an order and we are doing like in an army. So
let's come back to that discussion at the end with Evelina. And I see Alexia has a question, and she's actually the next speaker as well. So I'm going to let her ask the question. But if you could answer it just succinctly, Jaroslav, just to manage the time, if that's okay with you. And then we can have a much more open discussion at the end.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to both of you for your talk. It was very interesting. I do have a question about stakeholder fatigue, because we're asking stakeholders more and more things, questionnaires and meetings and workshops and visits to the field and so on. And they're starting to get a little tired of us asking them things all the time. So how do you manage stakeholder fatigue?
Yes, I fully agree with you. And that is why I am the leader of that project and that concept, and okay, once a year we've got a common meeting. It's when we gather together and discuss some kind of update. Let's say what's going on and what you do, and where we are with the strategic plan. Yeah, but during other part of the year, let's say, when there are some activities, I'm trying to be between those people. I just like if I know that one stakeholder is doing this, the other one is doing this, or there is a group of people who are involved into something, I like meet with them. But let's meet in the municipality, or for example on this place or this place. I'm not doing like taking people always to the forest and to take their time. So I'm trying to be very active and deeply involved, and I think that this is like when people see the energy. That it's just like like a virus, and it works really.
But you work to their schedule. You try to fit in with their timing and planning. I think that's a very sensible approach. It's a big challenge, stakeholder fatigue.
Yes. Yeah.
So we have a question in the chat from Patricia, and it's also for Jaroslav, but we'll discuss that at the end. But just to raise your attention to it there, and then we'll have a chat about that afterwards.
Okay.
And pull that together into the final discussion. So I'm going to hand over to Alexia now.
Okay, thank you. I'll just share my screen. That looks okay. So I have to. Now, of course, it's not working.
Well, we can see it fine. It's just not in full screen.
Yeah. So, yeah. Just a moment.
That's it. Yeah, if you click on that, it should work normally.
I am. It doesn't want to. There we go. And then I just need to do that. And that should be good.
Perfect. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So thank you very much for the invitation to come and discuss with you today. I'm very pleased to meet you all. So I'm Alexia Stokes from ENoLL in Montpellier in France. And together with my colleague, Professor Pang Yong from the Chinese Academy of Forestry, we coordinate a Horizon Europe project called Eco2Adapt, ecosystem-based adaptation and change-making to shape, protect, and maintain the resilience of tomorrow's forests. So this was one of the calls between Europe and China. And so this, the European consortium and the Chinese consortium are funded by the Ministry of Science and Technology in China. It's a fairly large project. There's 31 partners between Europe and China, and we have a total budget of 14 million euros. So just before I continue, I would like to show a film, if it's going to work, because of course, films always work when you prepare your PowerPoint and never when you actually give them. So let's see if this works. Yes. Give me a shout if it doesn't come across well.
We just don't have any sound, Alexia.
Okay.
You can actually share it with the sound, but you have to change the setting.
Okay.
At autre, I think, or mine is in French, I'm afraid, but in the parameters, you should parameters, the video parameters.
Okay.
Girls from ENoLL, do you know exactly where we need to go to change to put the sound on?
Yes, basically when you share the screen, you should flag it when it says share with sound.
Okay, so unshare it, perfect, and then go to share it again. Alexia, and there should be something there.
Okay, partager le son. Okay, we'll try again. If it doesn't work, it doesn't matter.
Okay, thank you.
You should. Can you still see my screen?
Yes, we can still see it. Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
A devastated landscape
now we can
and
hear
despair in local communities. Resilient forest management requires locally tailored solutions. Using an ecosystem-based adaptation approach that considers biodiversity and nature's benefits to humans, the Eco2Adapt project will consider not only the trees, but the gain for the entire social ecological system, so that local communities can contribute to safeguarding tomorrow's multifunctional forests. Ecosystem-based adaptation offers cost-effective and sustainable solutions for national and regional adaptation strategies. But understanding societal perception and acceptability is necessary before solutions can be implemented. Through innovative decision theatres, Eco2Adapt will work with all levels of stakeholders to understand what drives their decision-making and create change-making models and policies for resilient forest management, business and governance. The Eco2Adapt consortium will develop digital tools to harness information from forestry archives around the world. Combined with sophisticated modelling to predict the effects of management on forest dynamics in a changing climate and how this will affect ecosystem services, information will be used to create portfolios of appropriate species and management methods that can be accessed via a free application. Eco2Adapt will co-create solutions for resilient forests together with stakeholders in 15 living labs in Europe and China. Living labs promote collaborations between stakeholders and scientists. Eco2Adapt's living labs have been selected to cover a broad range of forest and climate type, ranging from boreal and temperate conifer forests to tropical rainforest. As change-making takes time, Eco2Adapt will create a legacy for future scientists, stakeholders, practitioners, students and communities. A direct link will be made between the project's knowledge base and the United Nations Data Hub so that policymakers can constantly access forestry and ecosystem service data. This will strengthen partnerships between academics, practitioners and policymakers and create a long-term legacy for tomorrow's generations.
Okay, right, so I'll continue with the talk then. So as you see, in Eco2Adapt, we use an ecosystem-based adaptation approach, which is a kind of a nature-based solution that harnesses biodiversity and ecosystem services to reduce vulnerability and build social ecological resilience to climate change. An example of this can be seen in the photograph on the right-hand side. This is a maritime pine plantation, Pinus pinasta, near Bordeaux in the southwest of France. And traditionally, these are just monospecific, even-aged plantations of pine. But what we're trying to do there is plant hedgerows of different angiosperm species around the plantations of pine to help protect against insect attack and also windstorms. So this is an ecosystem-based adaptation approach. And of course, we work in living labs, and we use the ENoLL definition and philosophy for living labs, and we proactively promote this philosophy throughout the project, both in Europe and in China. And we have 15 living labs in the project that are situated along a gradient of complexity. There's 11 living labs in Europe, starting from the very simple monospecific production forest in the southwest of France with the maritime pine trees we've just seen. We've got monospecific forest in Finland. We have an agroforest in Greece. In Lithuania, we have mixed forest, and that's, of course, it's hemiboreal. In Spain, we have Mediterranean montane mixed forest. In Germany, we have two types of forest. We have a peri-urban forest around Freiburg, and also a temperate mixed production forest in the Harz Mountains, a riparian forest in Serbia. In Switzerland, we have a temperate mixed montane and subalpine protection forest. And in French Guiana, it's very, very diverse forest with up to 200 species per hectare. And we're interested in looking, and that's of course is tropical rainforest, and we're interested in looking at aggregates of timber species within the rainforest. And we have 4 living labs in China, ranging from temperate coniferous forest, where they use EBA management already, to subtropical forest with mixed broadleaves and bamboo, and plantation forest, and again, over to Hainan Island on the right-hand side, that's tropical rainforest and mosaic forest in the national park. In each of these living labs, we examine the tipping points that lead to forest decline. So that could be windstorms, fires, or insect attacks. And we try and see if ecosystem-based solutions can help mitigate decline. We will use data from fieldwork, from deep learning methods, and from models, and we will collect these data into a knowledge warehouse that will perform verification, so findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable data. And eventually, this knowledge base will provide information on ecosystem services to managers and to policymakers and be attached to the United Nations Data Hub. It will, at the end of the project, also be accessible via a smartphone application. And this is just an example of our forest plot here in French Guiana, where each of the trees, information about each of the trees has been verified and so can be accessed by computers around the world. So in the knowledge base or knowledge warehouse, data can be from many different sources. It's not just Excel files, but yield tables, questionnaires, maps, images, photographs, model simulations, and so on. We just need to make sure that the data is protected or is open access and we have permission to use the data. We also use the PlantNet application. So PlantNet are a partner in the project. I don't know if you know PlantNet already. It's that application you have on your phone where you point it at a plant species and it identifies the plant species for you. And it's very much used by the public. It's very, very popular. And so we're using it in the project because they are a partner in my lab. We have access to all the data that citizens have taken with the phone. So when you take a photograph of a plant, you can send it to the server in our lab. And so we have that plant species is georeferenced, and also it's verified that it is actually that plant species, so it is verified by experts as well. And so we have examples here of living labs, the living labs in Lithuania and Finland, where we've carried out what are called bioblitzes with help from local citizens and also the researchers in the project to identify plant species along grids in the living labs. And so we can get a list of all the vulnerable plant species, all the rare plant species, and all the plant species present in the living lab. So this information will go into our knowledge base. We also measure fauna biodiversity. We've got camera traps, insect traps, and bat detectors installed in the living labs. And we've actually got a rather surprising amount of protected and rare species that we didn't know existed, including the wildcat, the European wildcat, jackals. Here you can see moose and bears. We also look at below ground properties, because it's in many forest projects, people focus on the above ground parts. But of course, if you want a resilient forest, you have to have one that's growing in a healthy soil. So we've installed these rhizotrons, that's on the left of the picture. And these are kind of windows that are put against the soil, and you can follow root growth over time. So we're following root growth of different mixtures of species, tree species, seeing how different mixtures grow together. And we're also measuring microbial communities in the soil physical, chemical properties, water properties, and so on. And we're looking to see how the different mixtures affect soil properties. And we also measure carbon sequestration and how labile carbon moves from the tree into the soil, and how that affects microbial communities, which in turn affects soil structure. So there's different models being run in the project. One of the models is LandClim, which is developed in Switzerland at ETH. And this is a spatially explicit forest landscape model that is developed to assess climatic and management effects on forest dynamics, to simulate future ecosystem dynamics in Living Lab. And it also estimates the ecosystem services under different RCP and different management scenarios. And some of the results can be seen here. So this is an example of the ecosystem service cooling by trees around the city of Freiburg in Germany. And so we're producing maps of the different ecosystem services in each of the living labs. And we also want to go beyond the living lab scale, and we want to, where possible, go up to a larger regional scale or even the national scale. Here we have the living lab in French Guiana, where ecosystem services have been assessed and calculated at the national level. So this isn't in our project. This is something we're interested in doing, is going beyond the living lab with our knowledge base. So with regard to the smartphone application at the end, I would like to say that the knowledge base isn't a decision support system. And the smartphone application will just be an interface for the user, to be a forester or a manager or a scientist, more than a citizen. So the user can access the data and the information in the knowledge base, depending on the questions they ask. But like I say, it's not a decision support system. The application won't help the user, won't provide advice to the user. So the user could ask, for example, what ecosystem services will be produced in 2050 if I plant Crocus eurobensis on my site in Greece? What species will provide cultural ecosystem services near my city? Or what species should I plant in my forest so that carbon is better sequestered into soil? It could be possible to link this to a decision support system in the future, but at the moment, it's not what is planned in the project. So we hold stakeholder meetings in each of the living labs. And what we are doing in these stakeholder meetings is that we're presenting simulations of forests under different climate change and management scenarios. And it's an interactive learning process of showing what will happen if we perform this particular management scenario, what will happen to the forest in the future. And we like to encourage stakeholders to discuss together and take into the account the opinion of other stakeholders. We also perform discussions with stakeholders about ecosystem services, land use, decision-making, and different policies. What's also important in these meetings is that work helps us guide the development of the smartphone application so that stakeholders can query the knowledge base using the right questions, because of course, the question has to be asked in the right way to get a good answer. And we have another film here. It doesn't have sound. Let's see. This one should work. So this is the work that we are doing on the simulations in some of the living labs. So this is a software that exists to perform. We can create a digital twin of the landscape. So this is in the Bordeaux living lab that I'd mentioned with the maritime pine trees, and where we want to plant, where we have planted hedgerows around the maritime pine trees. The quality is not very good because it's on my computer and it's supposed to have a better screen for this, but you get the idea. So with these films, we're presenting them to stakeholders and we're showing them what happens if we plant different mixtures of broadleaf species around the maritime pine plantation. So here we have a maritime pine plantation, and I'm trying to make it a bit brighter. I'm not sure if that's going to help. And then it will zoom over to another part of the forest where we are going to have different species. So here we show them different species of broadleaf species, and this is what their forest would look like in 20 years' time if they planted these particular species. Other things that we're doing in the project, we're focusing on change-making mechanisms. So we're identifying new governance mechanisms, such as forest governance by local communities. So we heard a little bit about that in Andorra as well. We're developing a framework to promote certification of forests using ecosystem-based adaptation. We also have a private forest insurance company working with us from London, and they are developing new insurance mechanisms for forests that are subjected to hazards such as windstorms, fires, and possibly severe drought. At the moment, they're just working on the windstorms and the fires. Drought's a little bit more complicated. And we also have a partner who are assessing the economic interest for new wood materials in the market and the wood industry. We have tasks focusing on policy, where we analyze current regulations and political programs with targets addressing forests and changes in bioeconomy in Europe, and we'll have a policy platform available on the internet site in June. And we also determine political incentives for change, including ecosystem-based adaptation and payments for environmental services in national adaptation plans in China and Europe. And we're currently under discussion with the Asian Development Bank to find applicable solutions. So payment for environmental services, I'm sure you know that's when a government or a bank or some governmental body gives money to foresters to provide certain ecosystem services and to manage their forests in a way not for wood production, but for some other ecosystem services such as biodiversity or carbon sequestration, etc. And they receive money from this governmental body to do that. So it started in Europe. There are some countries in Europe that do this, but it's been a major program in China over the last 20 years, and they have a lot of experience with that. So if you'd like more information, please do take a look at the website and the Twitter pages and LinkedIn pages and so on, that you'll find linked to the website. So thank you very much for your time. And stop.
Great. Thank you, Alexia. It's a really interesting project. It really resonates with me. I did my bachelor degree in botany and genetics, and I did my thesis on comparing a forest in China with one in Taiwan. Actually, I had to do genetic testing of them to see if they were a species or a subspecies. So brings me back to my younger days. But yeah, very interesting. I would see those as living lab projects, let's say. And I mean, if you heard from Andorra, you know, they're in place since 2022, and they have like multiple different kind of projects. And also in PSNC, they have also lots of different topics. So you started off the way a lot of living labs start off as a project. So how would you envisage that they would, after 2027, when the funding is over for the European project, how do you think that these living lab projects will actually become like institutionalized and continue to be a living lab, and rather not just a project as such?
That's an important question, and something that I am persuading the living lab, the coordinators of each of the living labs. I'm trying to persuade them how important that is. And so I'm currently discussing with ENoLL about the training and certification process. So I'm hoping that at the end of the year that somebody, I'm not sure who, is going to come from ENoLL and spend a day or a couple of days with us training the living lab coordinators and undergoing the certification process. So yes, you know, I agree with you, and we can see that the Horizon Europe projects and the calls from Brussels are also going in this direction as well. And Brussels wants 100 living labs across Europe, and I think they want 100 certified living labs across Europe.
Okay. Yeah, great. Fantastic. Okay, so like I have lots of questions, but I'm going to let everybody else ask the questions. So does anyone have anything specifically they'd like to ask Alexia?
That would be me.
Go first.
Yeah, I think I have two questions. One is, what is the main underlying goal of this project? Because I see multiple of goals within the project, and I was thinking like, what was the trigger and what is the like expected outcome of this project? I mean, as I could see, like you monitor the fauna and flora of the forests in different places. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm trying to wrap up what we've heard. Also, you set up the different living labs with like forest living labs, and you're thinking to prolong their existence with certification and getting them into the association. Also, there is this platform for change makers where you can make the digital twin of the forest and make some decision in cooperation with different stakeholders. So the digital tools are actually helping the forestry management. And also, I could see that there's been, for example, this fauna monitoring, like with the traps and so on, because I believe that certain tools, they've been there before. So what's exactly the result of the project itself, like what you come up with, and what is the outcome? And another probably like minor question is the cooperation, it seems a little exotic. I mean, there's Europe and there is China, but when I look at the regions, it seems like China brought the different types of forests into the whole scope, right? Or what was the reason to cooperate in these two different areas?
So sorry, I didn't get the last sentence. China bought the what?
What was the reason? I think there was a reason to make the cooperation of different regions, because China seems to brought like different forests, subtropical. So was it the reason that you made this cooperation, or there was different reason to actually cooperate with China on this project?
Well, in fact, I said that there were 4 living labs in China because it's a little bit simpler to keep it that way, and that's what we put in our version of the project. But actually in China, they have about 10 different living labs, and it's along a latitudinal transect, but which we haven't talked about in the European part of the project, so that's why I don't mention it so much. But yes, we wanted the living labs in China to mirror the living labs in Europe, and this was only really working with the tropical living lab in Highland Island and in French Guiana, which is why they did bring in more living labs, but they only started their project a year after ours, so they're a little bit behind us as well in terms of work. And I think I actually probably have the information about the other living labs on the web pages about most of them. But yes, it's the 4 living labs doesn't fully mirror what is happening in Europe, but we do have some more added on since. So that was a reply to that question. And with regard to the overarching objective, the call was on how to improve the resilience of forests with regard to climate change. And I didn't talk about the definition of resilience here, but we are focusing on social ecological resilience of forests in the future, where they are subjected to climate change. So that's social ecological. It's not just the forest itself, it's all the communities and the stakeholders that are involved with the forest, which is why the project is quite broad. And why we're talking about forest insurance mechanisms, for example, payment for environmental services. So that's one end of the spectrum, but we're also trying to understand what leads to forest decline and forest mortality with regard to climate change. And that's climate change that's not just drought, but also extreme events linked to climate change, so windstorms, cold events, heat, and so on. And we're bringing all this information together through the knowledge base, I would say, that's linking all the data. So we're linking the biodiversity data, so that's the animals and the plants and the microbes in the soil, bringing all this data together, including the results from the models, and making it available to stakeholders, and to try and improve the social ecological resilience of forests in the future that are subjected to different aspects of climate change.
And how do they measure that? How? Because we always talk about impact measurement in living labs. It's a big challenge. How do they measure that? And then I'm going to come on to the question that Patricia asked Jaroslav about the policy, because actually the question is also to do with impact. Is all of that knowledge that you're developing and collating there, Alexia, does it have an effect on policy?
Well, we've already, with regard to payments for environmental services, we've already had some very major meetings in China. We started in China there because they have a lot of experience there. They had massive programs for payment for environmental services over 10 years that worked to a certain extent, but they also had a lot of terrible effects on both the population people populations, and on forests as well. So we started in China, and we are now at quite the high level with regards to the government, talking to forest ministers about how to improve these programs to avoid basically what were disasters in the past, and how to improve these programs in the future. So we're having a major impact in China. In Europe, it's a bit more complicated because of all the different regional, local, and national governments in all the different countries. So it's going more slowly. We do have policy meetings with Brussels, quite frequent policy meetings with Brussels. Myself as the coordinator of this project, and also the coordinators of the other sister projects. We get together and we discuss with policy officers in Brussels. We have small meetings together where we discuss and see which policies could be improved upon, which should be developed, which could be taken up. I mean, we're still only halfway through the project, and this would be coming more towards the end. But from the beginning of the project, we've been working with the policy officer and the project officers in Brussels together with the sister projects on developing policies. Yes. Wow. So I think the impact is partly thanks to Brussels, to REA itself, and encouraging us to do this. Yeah. And we will have, of course, a very big project. We're organizing a big conference with sister projects in October 2027 in France as well. And we're inviting policy officers from Europe, from Brussels, to come to that as well.
Great. If you have more information about that, maybe you could share it with the
Yes,
group.
I don't think we have an internet site yet, but as soon as we do, I will let you know.
Great. Thank you. We'll share it with the working group. So, Yaroslav, do you have any insights into this question of how does the strategic plan, how can it be used for policy decision making? You're on mute, just to let you know.
Sorry for the time. First, I will try to continue the issue concerning the influence and the impact on policy decision making. We have to take into account the structure of state forests in Poland. Generally, the policy is creating on the top. I mean, in Warsaw, in the capital. Yeah. So we are on the local level, and all the major decision and the policy creation is happening there. So I would say that what our aim is the first is to implement a task that can solve, that can be concrete solutions. This is the first aspect. The other one is trying to overcome some kind of difficulties in cooperation. So that gives us better competences, that raises our competences, communication competences, I would say, and cooperation. Yeah. So that's the value, and that's it's difficult to speak about decision making. A strong one, I would say. Yeah. So that's also like, for example, this strategic plan. Of course, different stakeholders are involved, and it's also like, for example, municipalities or water government or nature conservation government, but authorities. But generally, how I understand that process is that we can collect all the units, let's call them units, living in one landscape. So the point of reflection is the landscape, not just like for foresters work in forestry, water management who deals only with water, but we are discussing about the same landscape, and we are trying to show how we are responsible for that, and we measure that if we can implement, we can solve the problem, if we can act successfully. So this is the way how we measure the success. Yeah, this is how I would say and how I would answer that question.
We're talking about very different scales, really. I mean, it was Patricia, you asked the question, and I imagine, you know, working in a living lab at a national scale in Andorra has some advantages. I imagine that you're a few steps closer to those decision makers, you know, to influence policy compared to in Poland, where there's so many different departments, and the connection between federal and local can be quite distant. I was very surprised to hear you say, Alexia, that it was easier in China than in Europe. I'm doing some work in India with living labs, and we find the hierarchical approach there very, very, very challenging. But I really like the way you said, Jaroslav, that you're trying to create concrete examples. So you're really trying to demonstrate something that works, and then of course the scopes and the country situations are very, very different. But I think the methods and the approaches, there's a lot of lines to draw between them, and very interesting to see all of you using also virtual reality and different types of technologies to make all of this happen. So I think that's really important. I'd like to come back to the question of innovation and the role of the living labs here. So clearly Alexia's project is working, you know, at a living lab project level and working with lots of different, let's say, technical researchers as well. And Patricia and Evelina are really coming from the, you know, the living lab context, but working on multiple different projects. And then Jaroslav, you're really focused on your international forest projects. How could we bring all of that together in terms of like what could we exchange in terms of living lab methodology? You know, how can this living lab approach actually bring more innovation into the scene, so that policymakers maybe are more interested, or even private sector? Like, why is the technology important? Why is this socio-technical kind of exchange that the living labs can offer? Why is that valuable? Evelina.
Yes, I'm raising my hand as a protector of the technology to foster innovation. Here I believed, and I think Alexia actually showed it very much clear with this digital twin, how technology can help actually when we finally go through that first stage, which I talked about with networking. We find the right people, we make them collaborate within, let's say, one room or one space, and then we use this technology, like for example the digital twin, to actually prognose and diagnose what is happening, and so it is visible to all of the parties, all of the actors involved in this project, to actually make this decision happen, because it's difficult to negate if it's visible at the very moment when you show it on the screen, like for example what is happening in the forest, in the river, all there, and people, it's easier for them to admit and actually to I think decide on that very moment, like what to do next. So I think technology makes it faster to happen, the innovation, social innovation, and with different tools and with the progress of technology, we're helping people actually to work together better, to co-create better, and to decide quicker.
Okay, well, that's a very nice summary and way to close this webinar. Unless anyone else has some burning questions, it's 1 o'clock now. So thanks for the last 2 hours. It's really, really interesting. I think it's a fantastic topic.